All right, let's talk about silver. Because today we're diving into an analysis that makes a pretty huge claim that we are standing on the edge of a massive, historic repricing of the metal. And the argument is, what we've seen so far, that was just the warm-up act.
So check this out. It's December 9th, 2025, and this is the price of an ounce of silver. According to our source material, the price is pretty much doubled just this year. That's a move that caught almost everyone completely off guard and has thrown a huge spotlight back on silver.
And look, I know what you're probably thinking. You see a price chart go nearly straight up like that, and the first question in your head is this one, right? Did I miss the boat? Is the party over? It's a totally natural reaction. But the analysis we're digging into today says the exact opposite. Its entire argument is that this isn't the end. This isn't some speculative bubble popping. No, this is the very beginning of a fundamental repricing. One that's based not on paper market games, but on a physical reality that you just can't ignore.
Now, for all the chart watchers out there, the source points to what it calls a monumental signal. It says that silver just completed a massive cup and handle pattern that's been forming for, get this, 45 years. And the historical parallel here is what's really key. This is supposedly the exact same kind of technical setup that appeared right before the legendary price explosion back in 1979.
But okay, this story goes way deeper than just lines on a chart. The real driver, according to this analysis, is a fundamental structural problem, a deficit that's been running for years and has been quietly bleeding the world's silver inventories completely dry. Let's just let that number sit there for a second. 7. For 7 years in a row, starting way back in 2019, the world has physically used more silver than every single mine on the planet was able to dig out of the ground. You know, this isn't a one-off thing. It's a chronic condition for the market.
And when you add up that shortfall over those 7 years, wow, you get this number, 1.1 billion ounces. To put that into perspective for you, that is more than an entire year's worth of global mining production that has simply vanished from the world's stockpiles to meet all that demand.
So you gotta ask, where did all that metal come from? Well, this chart really tells the tale. While the overall stockpiles are down 20%, the real five-alarm fire is happening in the COMEX warehouses. You know, the vaults that are supposed to have the actual physical metal ready to back up the futures market? Yeah, that critical inventory, the bars that are ready to deliver, has been absolutely crushed, down a shocking 40%.
So the main takeaway here is that the safety cushion, the buffer that hid this deficit for years, is basically gone. The system is just running on fumes and paper promises now. And the source points to recent events like failures to deliver in London or sudden trading halts in Chicago and says, these aren't just little technical glitches. No, these are the first cracks appearing in the whole foundation.
So what on earth is driving this insane, relentless deficit? Well, the source describes it as an industrial black hole. Just an unstoppable force that is sucking in every single available ounce of physical silver it can find.
You know, for the longest time, most people thought of silver as money, or for jewelry and silverware. That idea is now completely dangerously out of date. Just look at this. Industrial demand now accounts for a whopping 55% of all silver use every single year. It's become the absolute lifeblood of our modern, high-tech world.
And if you dig into that industrial demand, two areas are just gobbling it up. The green energy boom means solar panels alone are on track to consume 250 million ounces this year. Then you add another 150 million ounces for, well, the electrification of everything. EVs, 5G networks, AI data centers, you name it. You put just those two together and you're talking about almost half the world's yearly mine production. It's incredible. So what you end up with is this completely lopsided equation. On one side, you have demand that is just shooting for the moon, pushed by these massive, unstoppable global trends. But on the other side, supply is totally flat. It's just stagnant. After a decade of low prices, nobody invested in finding new mines. And the most crucial part is that this industrial silver gets consumed. It gets permanently locked away inside products. It's not coming back.
So with the inventories straining and demand absolutely exploding, what happens next? Well, the source argues we don't really have to guess. History actually gives us a pretty clear blueprint for what happens when you get this collision of physical shortage and monetary weirdness.
The argument is that what's happening right now is basically a mirror image of the 1970s. Back then, you had shaky currencies, runaway inflation, and a big industrial boom. The result? Silver surged 700%. Now, fast forward to today. We're dealing with questions about the dollar's dominance, inflation that just won't go away, and a ton of stress in the financial system. The parallels are, well, they're pretty hard to ignore. And there's another indicator, according to the source, that's just flashing bright red, the gold-to-silver ratio. It's a really simple idea. It's just how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. But historically, when this ratio gets to an extreme, it has signaled a huge turning point for the price of silver.
And this data shows just how extreme things are right now. Today, it takes 73 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold. But look at the history. The average for the entire 20th century was around 40 to 1. And for long stretches of time, governments literally fixed the rate at around 15 to 1. So at 73, the source contends that silver is just historically, almost ridiculously, undervalued compared to gold.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. We've got the huge technical breakout on the chart, a 7-year physical deficit, industrial demand that's just insatiable, and all these echoes from history. All of it, according to this analysis, leads to a dramatic conclusion about the endgame for the price of silver.
Now, these price projections might look pretty high, I get it, but they're presented as just the logical outcome of what happens when the physical shortage finally overwhelms the paper market. The idea is the price simply has to go high enough to either force some of that industrial demand to go away or to make it worth it for companies to spend billions to find a whole lot more silver.
And the source really stresses that this will not be a slow and steady climb. Citing the veteran analyst David Morgan, it predicts what's called an explosive phase. This is the moment of full-blown squeeze for physical metal hits, a mad dash for bars that just aren't there, and the price chart just goes completely vertical, parabolic.
Ultimately, the entire complex argument in this source material boils down to this one single powerful question. It really presents a choice. Are you going to believe the paper price you see on a screen, a price that, as we've discussed, is already showing some major cracks? Or are you going to believe the physical truth of a 7-year structural deficit that is practically screaming that a historic price reset isn't just possible, but that it's inevitable?